The Stranger's Diary. It was a rainy Tuesday evening when Emma boarded the last train home. She was exhausted from another day at her mundane office job, with deadlines that never ended and a boss who always seemed to find fault in everything she did. She squeezed into a window seat, trying to ignore the chill that seeped in from the cracked window beside her. The train was sparsely populated, the few remaining passengers lost in their own worlds, staring out into the darkness or scrolling through their phones. As she adjusted her bag on her lap, her eyes fell on a small, battered notebook wedged between the seat cushions. Its cover was worn and water-stained, the leather edges fraying as if it had been carried around for years. It was unremarkable, yet something about it caught Emma's attention. She glanced around, but no one seemed to be looking for a lost item. On impulse, she picked it up. The cover was unmarked, save for a faint symbol etched into the leather, an abstract, looping design that Emma didn't recognize. Curiosity piqued, she opened the diary, flipping past the first few blank pages until she found the first entry, written in neat, meticulous handwriting. May 3rd. Today, I watched the rain fall against my window. It's been the same every day: wake up, drag myself to work, feel invisible among the crowd, and wonder why I bother at all. Sometimes I wish anything would change. Emma blinked. The entry was eerily similar to how she felt every day. She turned the page to find another entry. May 10th. I'm stuck in the same routine. The same train, the same faces. No one sees me. I went to the cafe today, ordered my usual coffee, and wondered if the barista even knows my name. I don't know why it bothers me. I don't want to be noticed, but being invisible hurts more than I'd like to admit. A chill ran down Emma's spine. She couldn't shake the feeling that these words were describing her own life. She, too, took the same train every day, went to the same cafe, and ordered the same coffee from a barista who never looked up from the counter. It was almost like reading her own diary if she kept one. She spent the rest of the ride engrossed in the entries. Each page detailed the mundane and the melancholic, the writer's thoughts echoing Emma's own frustrations and disillusionment. Whoever this person was, they were experiencing the same suffocating loneliness she did. Emma couldn't put it down. May 17th. He saw her again today, the woman with the blue coat. She was on the train, reading something intently, oblivious to the world around her. I wish I could be like that, lost in something so deeply that everything else fades away. She seems familiar, like a ghost of something I've lost. Emma's breath caught in her throat. She owned a blue coat, one she wore frequently during her commutes. She tried to recall the faces she'd seen on the train lately but couldn't place anyone who stood out. Was it possible the writer had seen her? She continued reading, the entries growing more detailed and intimate. There were mentions of places Emma frequented, the park where she sometimes sat to eat lunch, the bookstore she visited on weekends, and even the grocery store she shopped at every Thursday. It was as if the writer of the diary had been following her, living her life, even. June 1st. There's something comforting about routines, even when they trap you. But lately, I feel watched. I see glimpses of a blue coat, and it's as if it's haunting me. I can't tell if she's real or just a figment of my imagination, a manifestation of my own longing to connect. Emma's pulse quickened. It wasn't just that the writer's life mirrored her own, it was as if they were writing about her. Every word resonated, and she began to feel an inexplicable connection to the stranger. But the entries didn't stop at coincidences, they grew darker, filled with paranoia and fear. June 12th. I found the blue coat outside my door today. I'm sure of it. I've never seen her up close, but I know it was hers. Am I losing my mind? I keep telling myself it's just my imagination, that I'm reading too much into things. But what if it's not? What if she's real? Emma's hands shook as she flipped through the pages. There were sketches, now rough, frantic drawings of places she recognized. Her apartment building, the cafe she frequented, even her own office. The illustrations were detailed and precise, down to the faint graffiti on the subway walls. She turned to the last entry, her heart pounding. June 20th. I can't escape her. Everywhere I go, I see glimpses of the blue coat. I've started to wonder if I'm being watched, or if I'm the one doing the watching. Today, I saw her reflection in the mirror instead of mine. I think I'm losing myself, or maybe I've been lost for a long time. If you're reading this, whoever you are, be careful. You're not as invisible as you think. Emma slammed the diary shut, her mind racing. This wasn't just a stranger's diary, it felt like a twisted reflection of her own life. She looked around the train, half expecting to see someone watching her, but the carriage was nearly empty. A sense of dread crept over her. Was it all a coincidence, or was she losing her grip on reality? As the train pulled into her station, Emma stuffed the diary into her bag and hurried home, the words still echoing in her mind. That night, she couldn't sleep. She felt like she was being watched, though her apartment was empty. The diary lay on her bedside table, a reminder of the unsettling connection she couldn't explain. Over the next few days, Emma tried to forget about the diary, but it was impossible. Every time she left her apartment, she felt eyes on her. She saw flashes of people in blue coats, shadows that lingered just a little too long. The world felt off, as though it had shifted slightly out of place. She started carrying the diary with her, almost as if it were a lifeline, a guide to a mystery she needed to solve.
The entries continued to update themselves, as if the diary were still being written. Though Emma never saw anyone with a pen in hand, the more she read, the more the lines between her life and the writers blurred. Emma couldn't tell where she ended and the stranger began. One morning, she woke to find a new entry that hadn't been there before. June 25th, I found her. She's real. And she's reading this. I don't know what will happen next, but I can't stop. If she's reading, then she knows too much, and she's part of this now. We're the same, but only one of us can be. Emma dropped the diary, her breath hitching in her throat. She stared at her reflection in the mirror across the room, and for the first time, she wasn't sure who was staring back.